All right, today we're tackling a big one. We're diving into one of the most mysterious, most profound, and honestly, one of the most puzzling books ever written, the ancient book of Ecclesiastes. This thing asks all the hard questions about life, meaning, and our place in this crazy universe. So, let's get right into it.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever had that feeling? That sense that life is just slipping through your fingers? That all your hard work, all your best laid plans kind of just seem to disappear into thin air? Like you're trying to literally catch smoke in your hands. Well, you're not alone. That exact feeling is what the author of Ecclesiastes, a super wise sage who calls himself Kohelet, is wrestling with.
Now, Kohelet has this one single powerful Hebrew word to nail down this problem, hevel. You'll often see this translated as meaningless or vanity, but honestly, that doesn't even come close. Hevel is vapor. It's smoke. It's something you can see, for sure, but you just can't grab a hold of it. It's that feeling of transience, of fleetingness, and sometimes just plain absurdity. So let's break down what this feeling of hevel is really all about. Kohelet looks at the world under the sun, which is his phrase for, our everyday reality, and he sees a few things clearly. First, life is fleeting. We're all here for a short time. Second, so much of what we do feels, futile. And third, life can be completely absurd. Things happen that just don't make sense. And when you put all that together, it creates this deep, heavy feeling of angst. It's a real problem.
But here's where it gets interesting. Kohelet isn't the type to just sit around and mope about hevel. Nope, he launches this full-blown investigation, a personal quest to see if he can actually solve the problem of life's heaviness once and for all.
So, what's the prize he's after? He calls it yitron. It's another Hebrew word, and it means something like a surplus, a gain, a real profit. He's looking for something that lasts, something that gives him an actual advantage over all this hevel. And what's his number one tool for the job? His incredible, legendary wisdom.
In this guy, he does not do things by halves. He's incredibly methodical. He sets up this grand experiment. He uses his powerful mind to understand everything. He observes all the work, all the toil, everything that people do under the sun. And through it all, he is searching, constantly searching for that elusive yitron.
So what does he find after all that work? Well, this quote right here is basically the bombshell at the end of his entire investigation. After all that searching, all that thinking, he comes to a pretty startling conclusion. He can't figure it out. No one can. The grand scheme of things is just beyond our comprehension.
So here's the bottom line. Human wisdom, for all its power, has its limits, a hard ceiling. It can't ever fully grasp everything God is doing. It can't see the future, let alone control it. And it can't fix what seems broken or crooked in the grand design of the world. Ultimately, our wisdom just can't give us one up on God. It's not the ultimate solution. It's not the yitron he was looking for.
So, this failure, this dead end in his quest, leads Kohelet to his biggest breakthrough. It's a huge theological realization that completely reframes the whole problem. He realizes the issue isn't just about finding the right piece of knowledge, it's about a massive fundamental gap in the very fabric of the universe.
Listen to this. This one line just lays it all out perfectly. The problem isn't just that life is short. The problem is that there is this vast, unbridgeable chasm between the divine and the human. God is in heaven, and you are on earth. That one fact, it changes everything.
And look at this comparison, it really puts it in black and white, doesn't it? On one side, you have a sovereign God. He's in heaven, he's all-powerful, he knows and controls the future, and he's the one who makes things crooked. And on our side, we're limited human beings, we're on Earth, pretty powerless in the grand scheme of things, we definitely don't know the future, and we absolutely cannot straighten what he has made crooked.
So what Kohelet realizes is that this gap, it isn't some cosmic accident. He calls it a sovereignly imposed limitation. The idea is that God actively places these limits on us. And why would he do that? Well, it's to prevent a Tower of Babel moment, to stop humanity from getting so smart and so full of itself that it thinks it can become divine and finally get that one-up on God.
Okay, so if you can't solve the problem of hevel and you can't bridge that massive gap between you and God, what in the world are you supposed to do? How do you live? This is where Kohelet's wisdom gets incredibly practical.
This is the question for all of us, isn't it? If we're not in control of the big picture, how do we handle our day-to-day lives? Well, Kohelet's answer starts with just observing the fundamental rhythm of life itself.
He looks around and he sees that life just unfolds in this series of appointed times, this rhythm of opposites that are completely and totally outside of our control.
He says there's a time to weep and a time to laugh.
A time to mourn and a time to dance.
A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time for war and a time for peace. You see the pattern? All of these experiences are just part of the structure of life that God has set up. A structure we get to navigate, but one we definitely do not create. So knowing all that, Kohelet gives us 3 pieces of just profound, practical advice. First, revere God. Acknowledge that chasm and your place in the universe. Second, enjoy the simple gifts that He gives you. Your food, your drink, the satisfaction you find in your work. He says these are gifts straight from His hand. And third, avoid extremes. Yeah, don't be over-wicked, that's obvious. But He also says don't be over-righteous, meaning don't put so much trust in your own goodness that you think it guarantees you a good life. Because in this Heva world, you might be in for a big surprise. But hold on. Even with all this practical wisdom, Kohelet's not quite done. He's not totally satisfied. He sees this one unresolved problem, a final piece of the puzzle that points way beyond the here and now.
So why? Why does God set up the world this way, with all these limits and mysteries and all this hevel? This verse is the closest thing we get to a direct answer. God does it so that we will revere Him, so that we don't fall into that trap of thinking we're the ones in control.
But there's still this one huge, nagging problem that Kohelet just can't shake. Under the sun, in this life, justice isn't always served. He sees it again and again. Good, righteous people suffering and perishing, while wicked people live long, prosperous lives. It just doesn't add up.
And that leaves us right here, with the book's final, electrifying question. Kohelet sees that the score isn't always settled in this life. So if justice isn't always found under the sun, his entire line of thinking pushes us toward one inevitable question. Where and when will that final day of reckoning actually come? And that's a question that just echoes long after you've turned the final page.